Good morning, Frugalistas. Oh, there's someone driving by. Morning! Good morning, Frugalistas and Dumpsterinos. I'm going to show you what I have going in the garden to give you a little update. It's supposed to be thunderstormy today, which I'm actually glad about because then I don't have to water anything and it gives me a good excuse for not having to work outside today. Like, what can you do? It's raining. The first thing I'll show you is what we refer to as the back 40, which is just a little piece of yard that's behind the carriage house, which is the building that you sometimes see in our videos that is kind of like, we just call it the carriage house. The previous owner of our property had some Amish people come build it, but it was never fully finished. Like, it has electricity, it has a bathroom set up with, what am I saying? Like a toilet, a sink, a shower, but the water, there's no water line to the house yet, and there's no heat. So it's just like a giant storage hut. Anyway, behind there, we have, okay, well, anyway, I'll show you. Behind there is where we're going. Just come along with me. And don't judge what my yard looks like, because it's always a mess. So, I thought of filming this whole transformation back here, but I was too embarrassed to show what it looked like before we started. And now this is what it looks like now. Anyway, so we have these fruit trees back here that we put in like 10 years ago when we bought the property. And this whole area is always so overgrown. Like, see, we have a fence there and there's a sidewalk there. That was it's been so overgrown, you could never see through that fence. Like, there was never a view through the fence. It was completely blocked by wisteria and by different vines and by some trees Frugal Daddy put down. I mean, and it wasn't just as high as the fence. Like, there was no sunlight or airflow back here. There was just so much overgrowth. And everywhere here where you can actually see down to the ground, that's because Frugal Daddy brought the mower through. But the weeds were as tall as I am, which is 5'6" at least. And so these trees have not borne fruit. Like, we have not done well taking care of this orchard. But now we are. Like, we've got airflow now, and we're removing all this crap, and we're transforming it into this beautiful area. But it was just this just ridiculously overgrown crap yard. And the owner previous to us just, like, he just used it to, it was so overgrown. I mean, I kind of like the privacy. It's very weird to me to have this all open now. But the previous owner, look, he has all this slate stacked there, and there's just, oh, this hole here was full of rocks. It's still full of rocks. I've been digging up the rocks and just moving the pile because there's also a lot of good compost there. This area, it looks like a lot of dirt and crap. There's my shovel. Clearly I take good care of my tools. Oh, my back hurts. There we go. So this is where the compost was, and this pile was a lot higher and overgrown with stuff. So I've been digging it down and digging it out and using that to fill my buckets of dirt. And this soil is just, oh God, my back. It's really great soil. It's so full of worm poop. It's just all worm poop. Anyway, so compost. And then there's just this mess of a bunch of vines and crap Frugal Daddy dragged down. Now this little tree, I think it was a cherry tree. We had 2 cherry trees, and Frugal Daddy said they're dead, and he cut them down. But this one's growing back, and I said, leave it alone and let it grow back. Just leave it. We paid money for that cherry tree. Leave it. Okay, this one is a pear tree, and it actually has some pears on it for the first time ever, at least that I know of. I think these trees sometimes bear fruit, and the squirrels and the birds get them. And this tree went up much higher, and there were pears on the upper branches. And then Frugal Daddy climbed a ladder with his chainsaw and just cut the top off. But I was like, there was food on those branches. And he said, well, you couldn't have gotten up to them anyway. And I said, I could have climbed the freaking ladder. But anyway, what's done is done. So he's been doing a lot of trimming, because I guess you got to trim these back. And so anyway, pears. And then I think we have a couple of apples. And then back there, right behind the ladder, is a peach tree. And Frugal Daddy says we always get peaches on it, but the squirrels eat them. And I say, I only remember this tree producing peaches like maybe the second year we had it. I remember when the girls were just toddlers, they came out and helped pick a bunch of peaches, and they were small and they had black spots on the outside. They weren't attractive, but they were fine on the inside. They were great. And then, yeah, anyway, so we need to get some more trees, because as we clear out this area, which I'm telling you, like 3 days ago, you could not walk through, you couldn't see through. There was zero airflow. That was all weeds and wisteria and vines and trees, and just vines that were growing up onto the fruit trees. It's just a mess. So Frugal Daddy's been hacking away at things with a machete, actually, and I've been sort of scrounging around on my hands and knees. So back here against the back of the building, there's a lot of weedage that needs to go. But this, like, looking at this building, this, like, I'm looking north to look at this building. So the sun, the southern, what am I saying? So when I'm looking at the back of the carriage house, I'm facing north. Like, this is a south-facing wall, basically. Like, a lot of sun is going to come in to this yard now. And I was thinking we could grow all sorts of things up against the side of the house, like sunflowers and stuff, but probably not this year. We have a couple of fig shrubberies over here. That's a fig. And some figs. You don't see any figs on the plants, though, do you? Just fig trees. No plant. No fruit. No fruit on the fig plants. Oh, look at that little bug. Come back. You were interesting looking. You're like a little camouflaged bug. Ooh. And then this fig is a volunteer. I think I don't know, like a clone from that one. We thought this was a kiwi tree, but we think it's just a big weed tree now. A weed tree. So anyway, this is the back orchard that we are working on. This is my new giant compost pile from all the crap I pulled out from over there. So yeah, I know it's lovely, but I have a vision for it that's a lot different from what it looks like now. But that's what I've been working on. And it would have been cool if I had filmed the whole transformation, because you just wouldn't believe how overgrown it was. But I didn't want everybody to see how overgrown it was, because it just was, it's such a mess and neglectful. So anyway, that's that. That's where I'm getting all my really good compost dirt from. That's 10 years of composting leaves and grass clippings. The pile was much bigger. Like, where the shovel is kind of a hole now. I've taken a lot of dirt out of there. Right? Right? Have you been helping us work? Look at you stretching, you cutie. Are you guarding the orchard? Why is my sweater still out here? Oh, I think I came out the other morning pretty early to start work, and it was actually chilly, and I had the sweater on, but it got hot pretty fast. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, Mamacita, you're so cute. Oh, you're so furry. All right, now we'll go see actual gardens that I'm trying to grow for real. Look at how well this hydrangea is doing. Yes, that I planted with my very own hands. Look at these giant blue flowers. And it's all just being crowded out and blocked by all the Frugal Daddy crap. The hay is here and the target is here because the kids actually do archery and they shoot at the hay and the target. I actually want the hay. I told Daddy I want that hay to grow potatoes in, because they have this target. But anyway, that's part of what's the mess over here. And then, of course, we need a tiki torch in the middle, right, for all that nighttime archery we do. There's the pool. Okay, this is the brick sidewalk that goes up to the carriage house. And this, you couldn't even see the brick. But when we first moved here, you couldn't see the brick. We didn't even know there was a brick path here. But, you know, it gets kind of overgrown with weeds. And so yesterday I pulled weeds, and Frugal Daddy thought that was a dumb waste of time, because he's like, I'll spray the weeds. But I don't like when he sprays the weeds, because it just leaves me a bunch of dead weeds stuck in the brick. Like, you need to pull them up. I just think this looks better. I feel very gratified by that. More hydrangeas that I planted myself. I know, it's like I gave birth to them myself. Yes, I bought them at Home Depot and dug a hole and planted them. But look how well they're doing. Okay, so this is the first strawberry patch. The initial strawberry patch. And at the back, We have some blueberry bushes that aren't looking like terribly impressive or anything, but they do have some blueberries on them. I've been harvesting maybe like quarter to half a cup of blueberries a day. I mean, it's not extraordinary. It's 4 scraggly little bushes, and 2 of them really don't have anything on them. But this is where the initial strawberry patch was that gave birth to all the other strawberry plants we have. Now look at this beauty. This is a big weed. Sometimes the weeds get so big you don't even realize it's a weed anymore. You just think like, oh, it's a shrubbery, it's a tree. What is that? That's a freaking weed. How dare you be there? There we go. So this is just this kind of weird back bed that not much is going on with. It's got some, what are these shrubberies? Azaleas, and that's a hydrangea. But since there was just all this dirt floating around here, I threw down some carrot seeds, and there's not a lot happening, obviously, but that's a carrot plant. And that's a carrot. And that's a carrot. So yeah, I have 3 carrots growing there. Now on the yard side of the railroad tie there, it was all weeds, of course. So I dug them up, I pulled them up, and I brought some of the composted dirt over here. Hello! And I've just planted some potatoes in there. And then these are like the sign things, like, you know, when people are running for office and they put their, you know, vote for me signs all over town. When they're done, when they're not being used anymore, nobody ever comes and collects them. And Frugal Daddy collects them because he uses the cardboard sign when he's packing clocks to ship. And then the little signpost things I'm just kind of using. I mean, I'm kind of hoping they'll work as trellises, but also just to kind of mark off this spot so that once the potatoes start growing, the dog doesn't trample them all, as she will. Who are you barking at? Now, this is my main food growing garden. As you can see, the pumpkins have taken over the world. I really didn't thin them out properly when they were little babies because they were such cute little baby plants and I wanted them all to have a chance at life. But, you know, these are huge plants. And I actually did pull a bunch up right in this realm. And, you know, it's already filling in. I mean, there's just, anyway. And then I keep kind of trying to move them back and keep them all in the same area because they're really crowding out my beans, which that's a bean plant. I have some beans right in the front. But then I think, oh, how many beans am I going to get? A couple of handfuls of beans, but pumpkins are big food and we've got some big flowers growing. So I figure, oh, just let the pumpkins do their thing. Like I can fight back pumpkins. Now see this, I don't like that because the weight of it, you know, it's not good. I don't know if that branch will still stay alive, but it needs to go back down to the ground. What are you? What are you? I don't know. I think that's a bean plant. I did plant beans along the fence line back when the pumpkins were a little bit smaller. Look at the size of these leaves of these pumpkins. I am a pumpkin farmer. I am a pumpkin savant. All right, so pumpkins. And then again, before the pumpkins were so big, I planted some carrots along here, and they're a mess. I mean, you know, carrot seeds are so tiny, and you're trying to plant one in a space, and then like 400 fall out of your hand at once. Not the best thing, so, but I do have some beans, and then, so along this fence line, there's more beans. There's more beans. Look. I have a bean starting to grow. There's another one. Look, I'm a bean farmer too. Okay, so we have beans along the fence line, and then this raspberry bush was from those raspberry bushes when one of them shot out a branch and it rooted. So this one is a whole new bush on its own, and this one is sending out another long branch. So I guess I will either let it droop on the ground and root itself, or I'll just cut it off and try to root it, which is what I want to do. I want to expand the whole blackberry growing situation. And this year the blackberry bushes have tons of fruit. It's just a matter of waiting for them to ripen. Like, look at you over here. Where'd you come from? Who are you attached to? So we've got blackberries. These big shrubberies are blackberries. There's also a lot of strawberries in here. They're done for the summer. They're shooting off their little babies now. Oof! Sorry, that's me tripping over the fence. All right, so these are all strawberries that were runners from that original strawberry patch. We've got some tomato volunteers here that I need to tend to, especially this one that's starting to grow a little bit bigger. Then over here at this end, along this side corridor, I planted some zucchini and some butternut squash. And something's growing. And I'm going to think this might be butternut squash because I've never grown it before and I really don't recognize this leaf. I don't remember if that's what a zucchini leaf looks like. I don't think so. I don't know. I plant stuff all the time thinking I'm going to remember what I'm doing, and then I don't. But I know over here I did butternut squash and zucchini. I know I did. Look, I've got some more beans starting. I love when I can come out here and pick stuff. There is nothing more gratifying than walking out into your own yard and grabbing some tomatoes and beans and blackberries and coming inside and making a gourmet meal out of beans and blackberries and tomatoes. What are you? What are you? What are you? I don't know what you are. That's just from throwing a couple pumpkins in the garden in the fall, in the late fall. We had, you know, our decorative pumpkins. We had some pumpkins we hadn't carved for Halloween. They were just sitting there being whole pumpkins, but of course eventually they started to rot and implode because the falls are much warmer now than they used to be, and so we just chucked them into the garden to be kind of composty, and they broke down and all of their seeds sprouted. So yay, I love when nature does its thing. Go nature, go. All right, here is our little koi pond. Why is that pine tree branch hanging over so... Hi, Lisa. So ominously. Oh, see, look at me, trimming branches. So anyway, you can see some fish in there. I don't think they're actually koi. I think they're actually very large goldfish, but they're cute. They're having fun. I tried to throw it to the far bank, and obviously I didn't make it. So good job, Amy. Good job. All right, this is some spinach. And I kind of keep it over here by the pond because I think it's kind of hot out for greens and it's in the shade a lot here. All right, now these pots I just planted with, I want to say kale, and this is a weed. These, anytime I'm using dirt from my yard, I get those weeds, and I love pulling them out and killing them, but I wish they weren't growing in the first place. So anyway, that's going to be kale. Like, why do the things you don't want grow so easily? I planted in here, I want to say leeks. I think I planted leeks in this one. Then I have this big tub here that I filled with the compost. And in here, I planted, just a couple days ago, I planted carrots and onions. You know, it's experimental to see if it works. Is it going to work? I hope it works. Obviously, you know, my carrot growing skills are not fab. Okay, these are my tires that are going to become the potato stacks. Why is there plastic in here? Now, the idea is, I think each tire has 3 or 4 potatoes in it. And, because I crowd things, and that's just who I am. Every plant gets company and has to fend for itself. Anyway, so the idea is once the potatoes sprout and the plants start to grow, you'll fill more dirt in, and then put another tire on top as it grows up, and fill more dirt in. So we'll just see how that goes. That's all composted soil. Now, some people said, oh, don't grow in tires because, you know, they're going to leach their weirdo chemicals into the dirt and into your food. So I was like, oh, great. That's just what I need. But I Googled it. I read some articles about it. What are you doing, Liesl? And I think just doing it for the 1 year should be okay. I think it's after you reuse the tires for a long time and they're breaking down. I don't know. We'll see. Then, you know, when I was trying to thin out my pumpkin patch and I was just pulling up some pumpkins, I wasn't pulling them up gently. I wasn't planning on replanting them. I was just kind of trying to thin things out. So I was pretty rough with them and I broke a lot of stems. But I noticed I had a lot of roots intact. So I just figured, okay, I'll just pull a bunch of weeds over here and plant them and see how they go. And I'm amazed, like those are all new leaves. Like these are all the little transplants that looked very dead when I first tried to jam them in the soil, and they're growing. They have leaves. I'm gonna have more pumpkins over here too, so that's cool. And there's a tomato volunteer who needs to go somewhere better. More potatoes up here at this end of the koi pond. This is our side porch that I don't think we've really cleaned and used in 2 years. A lot of things fell apart last summer because I was recovering from the burn still, and I wasn't doing any gardening. Like I just did nothing worthwhile out here. I tried, but I don't think I accomplished anything. So anyway, those are, what did I think these were? What did I plant over here? I thought they were pumpkins, but I'm feeling like the leaf is different. But the flower looks like a pumpkin. I don't know. Some other vining thing. I don't know what I planted. I know potatoes when I see them. I know those are potatoes. I'm just kind of putting in. Like we had this kind of little path thing and this flower pots and stuff, and the dogs don't walk on the path. They've destroyed the grass, creating their own path, right? So I just put some potatoes in over here. That's a mum. Those are strawberries. I have strawberries up there. We've got hydrangea here. Potatoes, potatoes. But back over here, I have this little side patio deal. And all of these tomatoes were volunteers, and again, this should be lawn on this side of the bricks, but it's not lawn, it's all weeds. I mean, without weeds, we have basically no lawn. So I kind of dug up the weeds and put the tomato volunteers in rows and just basically said, go for it. You have a chance. I have planted some tomatoes from seeds, but I know these ones were volunteers. Now, we have a lot of companion planting in these pots because when I did this, I didn't have a lot of pots and I didn't have a lot of dirt. So anyway, I'm pretty sure this is a pumpkin, and it's doing really nicely in its tomato cage. I mean, it's growing right up, but well, what's going to happen when it starts to form pumpkins? Like, what am I doing? They're too heavy. They're going to need to be on the ground, right? Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but it looks good. So we have some tomatoes, and this, what is this? Watermelon? Tomatoes. They're all still really, really little. I've been watching all these videos on pruning tomatoes and picking off the suckers, and I'm all excited to prune them, and they're still such little babies. There's really not much to prune, and there are no suckers yet. Now, I know you're saying you cannot crowd things in like that, but I feel like if they get enough water and they get enough plant food, they might be okay. I know I should move this pot with the tomatoes because they're going to need more air. They need airflow. Those are cucumbers that are going to grow up on this rack thing, and then at the bottom I have the little pea plants growing up. Again, I started a lot of this too late to do well in this kind of heat, I think. Oh, look, there's some kind of bee. Anyway, are you a pollinator or are you a stinger? When the plants were little, it's just hard to imagine how huge they're going to be. Yeah, I need to let this vine along the ground. I mean, we'll just see. We'll just see. We're learning. We're learning as we go. I watch a ton of gardening videos. I watch them all. But it doesn't mean I actually know what I'm doing yet. All right, so here's another tomato. There's a baby tomato, and I know you're saying, that's a baby. It's not going to make it. Look how sad it is already. But it deserves a chance at life. I have so much trouble pulling them up and discarding them. Here we have strawberries and tomatoes in with strawberries. It's crazy. Strawberries, strawberries. Look at these nasturtium leaves. They're going to town. And then, oh, that's a tomato plant. That one's doing pretty well. And there's some peas down there. There's a tomato volunteer. I think that's trying to be a sunflower. Lots of stuff going on here. These are tomatoes that I just transferred into pots from all that mulch out back. And then this one did not enjoy its transfer. This is not a tomato. It still has a leaf down there doing okay. The top leaf, not so good. So then we walk towards the front yard, and why there's a wheelbarrow there tipped like that, I don't know. Oh, Lord, what is going on here? A wheelbarrow with a wheelbarrow. What is Frugal Daddy doing over here with an extra wheel? This was our sandbox. Obviously, kids haven't been playing in this lately. But those weeds come up really easily. Like, we could clean this out. Though I think that we are gonna actually move the sandbox. Like, these come up so easily. We grow a lot of that weed. I think Daddy wanted to move the sandbox to a sunny spot and have it be a raised bed for us. I don't know. We'll see if we ever get to that one. We're in the front of the house now. Front of the house. That's my hose for watering the front. Last year, this hydrangea grew no flowers whatsoever. And this year, it's just covered in these lovely whitish pinkish blooms, like really doing well. I cut it way back, like way back. And then this hydrangea was covered in flowers last year and grew like crazy. And I cut it way back, and this year it has not a single bloom on it, which is weird. All right, so these two planters, I think I showed a while ago when I first did this. So the geraniums are from dumpster plants. Then I've got some pansies in there, and then behind the geraniums, it's kind of the side now because I turned it, but there's a potato plant, and it was way down low, and I just filled it in with more soil from the back. That's one of the New Guinea impatiens from the dumpster. That is the dog's fox toy that's all dirty and mangled there. It's not a real dead animal. These are supposed to be hanging here on the porch, but Frugal Daddy took them down to put them in the sun. And I guess actually I'm going to move them back out into the yard so they get watered today when it rains. That's my poinsettia that I've been nurturing along for years. And it lost all its leaves and a major branch and had nothing. But I just kept giving it water, and it is growing back stronger than ever. So this is our front walkway, which you can tell I have not weeded. And this is where I have a lot of my containers because we have a lot of sunlight out here. I wish the whole length of this walkway was all container garden. I feel like I need more. But I already feel like what I've done is so much and so tiring, and I don't know. Anyway, we're learning. Don't judge, we're learning. So these are big pots with potatoes in them. These are green onions that I planted from dumpster onions. You know, I cut the tops off and used them and just planted the little bulbs, and they have grown back really nicely. And sometimes when I want onions for a salad, I just come out and I pull some off and chop them up. Okay, in that pot, I think we have a pumpkin plant and a bean plant. I think these are pumpkins. See, I can't even remember. Like whatever fruit it bears, that's the kind of plant it was. I mean, it has that big yellow flower, that one. I don't know. Here's our wild daisies growing up in the path. So here we have more potatoes and nasturtiums. This pot has nasturtiums, a potato, and a little tomato, and this little pinwheel thing that the tomato's growing up on. Here we'll do a little pruning of the lower leaf. See, like my tomato stake here, this big stick I found. So we have a lot of tomatoes growing here. Then this is that mysteriously shaped leaf. Is that watermelon? What is that? Whatever it is, I have several of them in the pot. And I know you're saying you cannot grow a watermelon in a pot like that with other watermelons. You can't. But they grow things hydroponically. I mean, as long as the plant gets the right amount of nutrition, why wouldn't it grow? These, I think, are broccoli. There are only a few plants I recognize really easily, which like are tomatoes and potatoes. Everything else I kind of forget what I planted, but tomatoes. Lots of tomatoes along here. Once I accessed the dirt in the back, all that composted dirt, I was able to transplant lots of tomatoes. And we're going to try to do a lot of vertical growing, which involves a lot of trimming of lower leaves, but I really need some big old bamboo sticks to jam in here. See, look at these, these weeds. Very gratifying to pull out, but irritating. So that's a little broccoli that's struggling to survive. I had these little broccoli seedlings, and they were kind of, oh, thank you, Liesl. She loves these deflated balls. I mean, I really need to get her some better toys. This tomato is doing pretty well, pretty healthy. Tomatoes, and broccoli and tomatoes and a cat who's licking itself and I'm pretty sure these are watermelon. I started everything really late because things were either volunteers or planted from seeds. I didn't go out and buy any plants. And I didn't, I had that ball and she just grabbed it out of my hand. She got tired of waiting for me to throw it. I did not buy any plants. I started everything from seed, but I didn't start them inside early like I should have. I started them all outside like in May. It's just, I'm late, I'm behind. All the videos of gardening down south that I watch, like everybody's been harvesting food already for a while, which seems so early to me when all my plants are, an inch high. They also say, whoever they are, they who wrote this on Google, that for long-term food preservation, you want a later harvest. And I also figure, with global warming, we're not going to have a frost till way into October or November. That's my theory. And let's say these tomatoes have green fruits on them and then it gets too cold and they just stop growing. Then I've got green tomatoes, which I love. Like, I love fried green tomatoes, so it's fine. And green tomatoes will ripen off the vine. Like, there are times I've purposely picked green tomatoes to make fried green tomatoes, and then I didn't get to them quickly enough, and then they just sat in a bowl in my kitchen and ripened. The lawn needs to be mown. Can I have that? Can I have that? Okay. So, along here, this has always sort of had random plantings in the side, and I ripped up a lot and decided last year I was going to continue my hydrangea planting along here. So I do have some small hydrangeas here, but in between the hydrangeas I've gone and planted all sorts of things like potatoes and sunflowers, and there are peas along the fence line, but they're probably getting crowded out by now. But when the sun rises, it comes from that side, like that side of the other side of the fence is east. So the sun rises and these plants all get a lot of sun in the morning and throughout the day. See, look, that's gonna be a sunflower. Look at it doing its crazy thing. Got a tiger lily still in there. So lots of potatoes in between the hydrangea, lots of potatoes. And sunflowers and peas along the fence line. And then that's a cucumber, and that's a cucumber, and look, it's got a flower. It's gonna make me a little cucumber, which I will then pickle. So this is just this front area. I want to use all fence lines that I have to grow stuff. And I thought about growing things all along the front fence line, but then I thought all the starving, marauding hordes of people will just come and steal my tomatoes or cucumbers or whatever off the front. Okay, so potatoes. Something else. Pumpkin maybe? I don't know. Maybe a cucumber. Is that a cucumber? That can't be a cucumber. Their leaves don't get that big, do they? What are you doing, ouch, down below? That's the fun, exciting mystery of being my kind of gardener, is not knowing what the heck. I think that is. Isn't that a cucumber growing there? Look at the flowers. All right. I can't wait to prune those too. So anyway, also here we have cucumbers. Look at all my cucumber flowers. I'm going to have pickles. I'm so excited. Pickles. I need to pull off the suckers when they get a little bit bigger. There we have a strawberry and what looks like a rogue out of the blue. Don't know where you came from. Little mum plant, I think, or a weed. We'll see what it becomes. And then that's a strawberry, and what is that? I think that's a weed. You must go. I don't know what you are, so you must go. You're not supposed to be in there with the strawberry. Okay, so that's what we have going up the side. Okay, and then we have one more area, which is around the right side of the house, where I don't have the best soil. It's very sandy and it's very shallow, I think, because the previous owner put down that, whatever that stuff is you put under the dirt to keep weeds from growing, which it totally doesn't work because the weeds still grow. I have more potatoes here in the front. That's a perennial I planted last year, and another hydrangea. Look how nicely that came back. So these are all potatoes. They seem to be doing well. Where have you been? Where have you been sneaking in under the gate? Hydrangea. I don't really like this kind of hydrangea as much as the one that's just all like flower all over, like this lacy thing. I mean, I planted it and it's living and it's thriving. It's just not my favorite kind. I like the big blooms better, like that kind of bloom. Right here is, this is flowers. I've grown lettuce in this giant planter in the past, but right now this is a big old mum and some pansies. A couple of pots with tomatoes, and then possibly whatever that is, watermelon, cucumber, mystery squash, who knows. So then this is the side of the house, and I planted all of these, whatever these are, shrubberies, boxwoods, I guess, a long time ago, and they are a very slow growing plant. And if that's a good thing, then go for your boxwoods. I find them a little irritating. I mean, these are all the exact same size they were when I planted them. Anyway, I'm thinking about digging them all up and planting them somewhere else in the yard and putting in blueberry bushes over here. That's my thought. But this is very sandy soil over here, and I've been bringing compost over. That's a little tomato. I've been bringing compost over to add to it, but I haven't gotten too far with that. Those are potatoes. I mean, there's hardly any space here. I just stick stuff in where I can stick stuff. These are strawberries. These produce pretty well over here, and it's very sunny over here. So these are usually my first ripe strawberries of the season. Those were all from little baby runners. Strawberries. There's a little tomato. See, look, we'll prune you. We'll take off that bottom leaf. There you go. You'll be fine. Tomato. Oh, look how little you are. You can make it, guy. You can make it. I just need to keep giving you water. And maybe a little more dirt. Potato, cats. Cats are the only livestock I have now on the homestead. I mean, we have the dogs, but they don't count as livestock. But the herd of cats, I think, counts. I think that's a potato. And then I have this pot that usually, I don't know, usually grows a bunch of weeds here, but I put a bunch of things in it because I was kind of hoping they would use this fence. So it has a couple of strawberries. It has a couple of peas that are trying to get over to the fence. And then I think these are cucumbers because they've got the little flowers. And I was thinking they would use, you know, the fence to trellis. I just need to make sure if there's suckers, I need to pick them off, but not pick off whatever it is that is going to turn into a cucumber. I know some people are going to say, why don't you just go buy some tomato cages? Just go buy the poles you need. Whenever there's a suggestion that starts with, like, why don't you just go buy? Like, just stop right there, because I can't. I can't buy anything. I wish I could, but I can't. So I make do. Make it do. So anyway, as these get bigger, I'm going to need a system. I need to find something for them to stand up. This little dry patch of sadness. It has some peas. I was hoping that they would kind of grow up on this thing, but they're just kind of slopping around on the ground. And then I threw some carrot seeds down, so those are carrots. That's a carrot. Thank you, Liesel. That's helpful. So we'll see if anything grows. This ground's pretty hard packed, and it's got weeds I need to pull up. Like up here, there's some carrots too. Like, that's a little baby carrot, but we also have a bunch of crabgrass mixed in. Do you want this pretty ball? Oh, I'm gonna throw it. Stop, don't take it from me. When I said do you want it, I meant do you want me to throw it? All right, so that's it. That's my garden update in excruciating detail. For a day that's supposed to be thunderstormy, it's getting really hot and humid already, which I'm super enjoying. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Here, wait, let's stand for the goodbye. Let's stand by the hydrangeas because they're healthy and they look good. I love my hydrangeas. I look forward to reading your comments below. You can tell me what some of my plants are. because obviously I don't know what I'm doing or planting. I mean, I figure if the plant grows a pumpkin, it was a pumpkin plant. If it grows a cucumber, then I have verified it was a cucumber plant. They just, I don't know. I just keep forgetting what's what. All right, give it to me. Give it to me. Let me throw it for you. Let me throw it. Give it to me. Give it. Ugh. She thinks I'm going to chase her. Like, have we met? Doesn't she know me? I don't run. I don't chase. Oh, she's so cute over there. Look at her being all cute in the yard. Look at her.